51 years old, Mayte Garcia isn't merely reminiscing, she's being honest. Formerly the young wife of the prince the world had known, she existed within a realm of music, enchantment, and secrecy, a fantasy woven of purple lights and songs that lived and lived. But behind the fantasy was a romance that broke under stress. Fans only observed the perfection for years, the dazzling performances, the awards shows, the seemingly untouchable chemistry. They didn't observe the quiet devastation, the sorrow, and the loss that ultimately drove Mayte away from the man everybody else thought was bigger than life. So, why did Mayte finally divorce Prince? And what has she kept hidden all these years? This is the tale of how a fairy tale fell apart, and how even legends can shatter. Before the legend, there was just a boy. Prince Rogers Nelson wasn't born, he was unleashed. From the moment he first set foot on a stage, everyone knew this wasn't some ordinary kid from Minneapolis. With his small stature, his untamed energy, and his supernatural confidence, he seemed fated to shake music to its very foundations. His father, jazz pianist John L. Nelson, and his mother, singer Maddie Shaw, shared a passion for music. Music wasn't a pastime between them, it was oxygen. Prince learned early that rhythm could express what words could not. At 7 years old, he'd composed his first song. At 10, he was self-teaching himself to play piano, guitar, and drums. Music wasn't a hobby, it was a survival tool. Behind the twinkle that would one day characterize his genius was a kid with an unsettled home life. His parents divorced when he was 10. His mother remarried, and his relationship with his stepfather was strained, even explosive. Prince ping-ponged between households, frequently sleeping on friends' couches, among them the Anderson family, whose son Andre would later become Andre Simon, his very first musical brother. They had a band in the Andersons' basement called Grand Central, where they played little gigs around Minneapolis. Prince lived and breathed sound. While other children were at the cinema, he was below in a studio learning from James Brown, Sly Stone, and Aretha Franklin, breaking down each chord, each drum stroke, each breath. At 16, he quit school to pursue music for a living, creating what would become the Minneapolis sound, a blend of funk, rock, soul, and electronic rhythms, unlike anything heard anywhere on this planet. By age 19, Prince had a record contract with Warner Brothers. In 1978, his first album For You was released. Critics saw potential, but as yet, not the revolution that was in store. Within a year, he was playing alone, electrifying crowds with erotic power and gender-confounding style. Ruffled shirts, spiked boots, a sly grin, he was brash. By the early 1980s, the world took notice. 1999 burst on MTV, making him a symbol of sound and sensuality. Then Purple Rain. The album, the soundtrack, the phenomenon, Purple Rain took over charts, not just dominated them. For 24 consecutive weeks, it topped Billboard. It sold more than 25 million copies globally and won Prince an Oscar. Overnight, he was no longer merely a star. He was the star, an artist who had created his own form and constructed his own universe. But beneath the music, Prince managed his empire on military time. His employees referred to it as a tour of duty. He expected perfection, worked on no sleep, and demanded the same from those who worked around him. He would wake musicians up at 3 a.m. to lay down a new riff. He rehearsed until dawn, played for hours, then hosted after-parties that ran until morning. He existed in his own time zone, the time of creation. But even amidst all the control, there was one thing that he could not control, his heart. Prince's love life was as charged as his music. Women were not just girlfriends, they were inspiration. His relationship history is a roll call of beauty and strength. Madonna, Sheila E., Kim Basinger, Vanity, Carmen Electra, Sherilyn Fenn. Each was a different aspect of him. Sensual, spiritual, playful, tortured. With Kim Basinger, their chemistry was so intense it seeped into his albums. With Vanity, it was passion and turmoil, a flame that burned too hot to be sustained. With Sheila E., it was a beat no one could equal. But neither of them would change his fate, like the young woman who had once said he was her dream. Mayte Garcia first saw Prince on television when she was just 9 years old. She turned to her mother and said, "I'm going to marry him one day." Her mother laughed, but Mayte meant it. She was already a dancer, trained in ballet, belly dance, and flamenco, performing at festivals and community events. At 16, destiny stepped in. Her mother gave a videotape of Mayte's dance routine to a member of Prince's entourage at one of his concerts. Several hours later, the word came back. Prince wants to meet her. When Mayte entered the room, he flashed that mysterious smile and asked her if indeed she was 16. She replied that she was. He said how much he loved her performance and then requested her phone number. It was naive, clumsy, but it ignited something. They wrote letters, exchanged phone calls, developed a bond constructed not on romance just yet, but on respect and wonder. Prince admired her youth. Never once did he cross that threshold, but the threshold was there, shimmering in wait. When she was 18, Prince offered her a spot as a fly-on-the-wall backup dancer and, at her mother's request, became her guardian to allow her to tour with him. She took up residence at Paisley Park, his iconic studio complex, a kingdom of music, mystery, and mirrors. Their friendship grew stronger. They talked till the break of dawn, exchanging laughter and secrets. At 19, the inevitable occurred. Prince whispered in her ear, "I think it's time." He told her to get birth control. Mayte documented the moment in her journal. February 9th, 1993, not a virgin. Patience pays off. 3 years after, on Valentine's Day 1996, Prince married Mayte Garcia. She was 22. He was 37. To everyone, it seemed like a fairy tale romance, the muse who wedded the master. Prince even gave her a 7,500 square foot villa in Spain with a recording studio and salon. It was a dream come true, but behind the gates, cracks had already set in. They lived a fast life, late-night shopping forays in limousines, midnight recording sessions in studios, metaphysical late-night talks that lasted for hours. Prince would often say to her that he thought they were old friends from another life. He'd speak of Egypt, of cosmic connection, of souls tied across centuries. To the outside world, it was strange. To Mayte, it was destiny. 2 months after their wedding, Mayte discovered she was pregnant. Joy quickly gave way to fear when physicians cautioned of a complication. But Prince declined medical intervention, believing that religion alone could shield them. In October 1996, their son, Amir, was born. 6 days later, he died of a rare genetic disorder. The miscarriage devastated them. Prince immersed himself in quiet, refusing to talk about it in public. When Oprah came to Paisley Park a short while later, he assured her all was well, that their family existed. It was too painful to put words to. When Mayte became pregnant again, there was brief hope before miscarriage dashed it. The mourning was too much. Prince turned to religion, becoming a Jehovah's Witness in full. Mayte attempted to do the same, but they parted ways. The man who had painted her life with color now only talked about doctrine and redemption. By 1998, Prince declared that he would invalidate the marriage. Mayte was shocked. The man who had vowed eternity was no more. In her own memoir years afterward, she summed up the ache as a wound that never closed. Life without Prince was subdued. She attempted to date again, even became engaged to drummer Tommy Lee, but nothing measured up. How do you love after you've loved someone who remade the world? Then, in April of 2016, the unthinkable occurred. Prince was discovered dead in his Paisley Park elevator, the sanctuary that he dubbed. The reason? An accidental fentanyl overdose. To his fans, it was shocking. Prince, the clean-living perfectionist who'd once judged drug use, had died of painkillers. But the reality was more sad. He hadn't been seeking a high. He'd been seeking relief. Dozens of years of working had battered his body. Purple Rain-era injuries still lingered, a hip that had been broken in a fall off the stage, a back that never recovered. Surgery would have meant postponing shows, showing weakness. Instead, he covered the pain with pills. No one knew for years. To the public, he was ageless, perfect, superhuman. Behind closed doors, he was secretly shattering. Prince's addiction wasn't crazy or visible. It was quiet. The man who would late into the night write music now lay awake because he couldn't sleep without medicine. When he died, police found bottles here and there around his house. He was barely 100 pounds. The kid, who had so desperately tried to master his fate, had finally been defeated by the one thing he couldn't control, pain. His passing shocked the world and shattered Mayte. "He's with our son now," she whispered. "They're together." The fairy tale had ended, and what was left was the truth. Behind every glistening myth stands a human tale of brilliance, of heartbreak, of yearning, of loss. Prince Rogers Nelson was a contradiction of sorts, shy yet showy, devout yet wanton, disciplined yet self-destructive. He battled record companies, politicians, and his inner demons. He translated pain into music and rebellion into beat. He broke conventions of gender, race, and genre. He was funk and rock, gospel and soul, fire and ice. And Mayte Garcia, the girl who had once declared that she would marry him, became the guardian of his deepest secret. In retrospect, she insists that she doesn't regret anything, not the hurt, not the loss, not the heartache. "He taught me how to love without fear," she wrote, "even when it hurts." To the rest of the world, Prince is forever young, a symbol, a sound, an era. But to Mayte, he was human, imperfect, masterful, complex, and real. Prince and Mayte's love story wasn't that fairy tale fans dreamed of. It was tragedy and passion mixed together, a poignant reminder that legends are not immune to the vulnerability of life. They were just two hearts that crossed under impossible spotlights and struggled to keep it together. Prince once quoted, "A strong spirit transcends rules." Perhaps that's what love is as well, something that shatters all the rules, even when it shatters you.